My name is Gaddis, and this is my story. I grew up in Aurora. Was born there, raised there. When I was younger, about 9 or 10, I had experienced some sexual abuse in my life. It wasn't like my parents or anything like that, but it was something that as I was growing up that I was constantly running from. Shortly after that, I started self-medicating, smoking weed, drinking, taking pills, to just get away from the shame and the guilt. When I was in middle school, I had a lot of struggle with authority. Got into hanging out with people that could give me what I was looking for. So my parents really wanted to have me make a switch in my environment and my scenery. I was really into football, and we had heard about this coach that was coming to Aurora Christian, Don Beebe. Talked to him, and he had said something to me that stuck with me. He said, we're going to turn you into a great football player, but what's most important to me is that we turn you into a strong Christian man. My freshman year, my high school girlfriend had gotten pregnant. There was an abstinence policy at the high school that I had obviously broken, and so I got expelled. They had put me into a mentorship with a pastor from Aurora, Pastor Andy Morgan. And so I eventually was able to come back. That's where I met my to-be wife. Right after high school, I had reached out to her, and we were friends in high school, but wanted to start dating. And so we started talking. Things got serious, and I fell in love. Shortly after that, she got pregnant, and I was still in a place in my life where I was just continuing to run, and I was continuing to self-medicate. And she had come to me, and she's like, "We're gonna have a baby. Like, I want us to be a family, and that means you're gonna have to stop with the drugs, man. You're gonna have to stop drinking. You're gonna have to stop with the partying." And I told her, "Yeah, I will," but I didn't. And then it all came to a head, and she was like, "I can't do this anymore. I can't marry you. If you're gonna lie to me, if you're gonna continue down this road, I'm not going down this road with you." So when I had come to Village, I was really excited to hear preaching from the Bible. I had always been told, that if it's not coming from Scripture, then run, right? And so we had come to the church, and the first couple of messages were tough messages that we had heard, but they were challenging. And my coach had told me in high school, he said, "There's a time for milk, and then there's a time for meat." And we knew when we had heard those first couple of messages from Tim that we were in a place where we were going to get meat. And one of the messages that Tim had preached when we had first come was about forgiveness. The message had a huge effect on me, and I had left, and I remember feeling uneasy, stirred up, and then I had gone to the person from when I was a kid, and I had told that person that I'd forgiven them. It was liberating. I mean, at the time, I still wasn't in a place where I was like where I had submitted to the Lord, but He was working. He was definitely working in my heart at that point. We reached out to Tim, and he sat down with us for a couple of weeks, and just trying to get a gauge for where we were at, how we had gotten here. And he had made a recommendation for us to meet with another couple from the church, and they opened their home up to us in a way that I would have never expected. I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking, I stopped partying. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. It's not moving forward. Like, there's no progress here. And so at the time I was reading through the Bible, and I was in Matthew, and I got deep into Matthew. And he's walking on the road to Jerusalem, and there's a fig tree on the side of the road, and he goes to the tree, and he goes to pull a fruit from the tree, and there's no fruit on the tree. And I had realized in that moment, like I was that tree. I didn't have fruit. I had said all these things, and I was doing all these things and checking all these boxes, but I didn't have fruit. And in that moment, I felt just an intense sense of peace. It just washed over me. And I finally got to a place where I had submitted, where I was like, God, you have control of my life. I can try and do all these things on my own, and they are not working. It's not working. I called Jamie. I let her know what was going on there. I let her know that this is where I was at, and that God has a plan for us, either with us together or not. A few days later, she told me that she was reflecting on it, and she had read the passage, and she came to the same conclusion, that she hadn't submitted either. God's changed me. He's grown me. He's pruned me. He has brought us to this church where people have come around us. They've walked beside us as we're trying to walk down this. I mean, the path is straight and narrow. It is a narrow, very narrow path, and it's hard to walk along. And it has been such a blessing to have people come alongside of us and help us walk down that path. My name is Gaddis, and that's my story.